Anyone can sell electronics. At Electronics Expo, they do more than sell products. They design, install, and support complete technology solutions. From home theaters and whole home audio to lighting, shades, automation, networking, security cameras, and premium entertainment systems. For over 22 years, they've helped thousands of homeowners experience technology at its very best. See the difference for yourself. Visit their Wayne or Paramus stores in New Jersey or shop now at electronicsexpo.com.
Katz and Cosby, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Let's go to the founder of Just the News, John Solomon. John, what do you got?
Oh, so much going on. First, the missiles that are flying again in Iran tonight. The United States has launched a second night of very intense attacks, focused particularly on the Revolutionary Guard, the hardline military suppressors in that country, thinning them out with some pretty significant strategic artillery tonight. So that's something we're keeping a close eye on. Meanwhile, you mentioned all the things the president accomplished at the NATO summit. Here's one that flew below the radar, but it's pretty historic when you think about the last 2 decades. The Trump administration moved today, its State Department moved today, to end Syria's designation as the state sponsor of terrorism. That is the first time that would be the case in more than 2 decades, a sign of the warming relations. And as the State Department said in its announcement, President Trump wants to trust the Syrians. They don't have a good track record in the past, but they have new leadership. Assad is gone. Let's give them a chance to be good world community participants again. That is such historic when you go back to even before 9/11. Syria was already on the ban list. They go back almost to the time of Iran. So a really significant shift there. A lot of people missed that today in the news. Meanwhile, Obamacare, it never was affordable, but next year it's going to be a lot less affordable. Why? Double-digit premium hikes are planned for 2027. Why? Because those subsidies were fakely keeping down or keeping the numbers fakely low or not honestly low. They're gone, and now people are seeing the real price of what Obamacare did to health insurance. What's happening? People are peeling out of Obamacare in a big number, and the charade that Obamacare was affordable, you could keep your doctor, all the things we were promised that didn't happen, it's now becoming plainly clear to people. And one last one, Harmeet Dillon and Todd Blanche just put all 50 states on notice. If you plan to continue to allow non-citizens to register to vote, if you don't take steps to keep non-citizens from being in a position to cast a ballot in America, you, the state, will face criminal charges. You, the election administrator, may face criminal charges. You, the county clerk, may face criminal charges. A really stark and clear warning. By the way, this is in the law. All Harmeet Dillon is doing is actually enforcing laws that are already on the book. Pretty significant election integrity move ahead of next week's big test to see if the Senate can get the Save America Act passed in a skinny version attached to the Pentagon spending bill. But this is a good backup to that, letting the states know you could end up in handcuffs if you don't stop these non-citizens from rolling. I also think next week we will get new numbers in America on just how many non-citizens made the voter rolls in the last couple of years. It's going to be a stunningly large number. I would not be surprised if it's in the hundreds of thousands.
John Solomon, I don't know if you heard what we were talking about at the beginning of the show. You usually have your ear close to the ground and you hear everything. What is the rumor on this Air Force One?
There was some security concern about the way the plane performed in its first few flights. Again, nothing onerous or suggesting that the makers of the plane or UAE, which donate the plane, did something, but something that the pilots and the Secret Service and others who worry about the president's well-being didn't like. So let's get it changed and get it fixed, get it the way the old Air Force One operated from a security standpoint. Obviously, this plane is much more luxurious, bigger, more modern, but there are some security provisions that didn't quite work the way they thought. So they're not going to take any chances with the president. I think it's nothing more than that. We're trying to get a little bit more detail on what it is. They probably don't want to talk about it, but I think that's what it was. There just was some functionality that in a secure situation didn't work the way they thought.
Wow.
That's interesting.
Very interesting and very strange.
Yeah. And you know what? You know what was so weird, John? I was watching the press conference today with reporters with the president, and they were obviously equating, and he said right afterwards, I mean, I've heard him talk a lot. And today he kept saying, I'm number one on the kill list for Iran. It was chilling.
The capability of the plane is tied to known threats that Iran has, and they would love to kill the president by a drone attack or something like that. So there are some capabilities that I think they thought the old Air Force One had that need to be adapted maybe a little bit better in this new one. It is related to Iran. Obviously, you're in the region when you're in Turkey, so you're near the area. And so you want to make sure that the new plane has all the capabilities that the old plane did, and I think that's why they went back to the old plane. A security threat's a security threat, but they really felt the old Air Force One was better equipped to deal with that. Yeah, it is. The Iran threat is the imminent threat, and we're always worried about that. The capability is what really caused the switch in plane.
The other airplane, the 737, have they found it yet?
Yeah. You mean the one that's missing overseas?
The one that's missing. It was from UAE to Karachi.
Yeah, no. And remember, we've had a few Pakistani airliners go down over the years. This isn't the first one. We're not sure exactly what happened here. They have not located it as of this hour, at least with the last update I got at 4:00. It has not been located yet. So another grave mystery. You always worry about foul play when something like that happens.
John, you also broke a story, and I wanted to ask you more on this. This federal judge handed Trump a big win, right?
Sure did.
Yeah, explain what this was tied to DHS and voter verification.
Yeah. So there's a SAVE database that allows the states to check voters to make sure that they are legitimately voters, that they're not synthetic personalities, fake personalities, that they're not non-citizens trying to portray themselves as citizens and get out the voter roll. It's a great tool that was created to make states. Not all states are using it, but a liberal judge ruled that the states couldn't do this, that this was a disenfranchisement of voters to have their citizenship checked. The new judge ruled that was ludicrous and overruled that judge and put a win in for President Trump. Because two judges are on different pages, it's going to go to the appellate courts somewhere soon, and then I think the Supreme Court will weigh in. I do think the judge who ruled yesterday is likely to have the law on his side. When you look at the law, there's nothing that prevents, and by the way, there's plenty in the federal law that encourages this to occur. It was why this database was created. So I think the judge's ruling yesterday, which was a victory for Donald Trump, probably prevails as it goes up in the court. At least that's what the legal experts are telling me.
And, I'm looking at Judge Weinberg because I'm curious from a legal perspective on the thing you started with, that they're going to go after states and somehow hold them maybe criminally responsible. Judge, how does that work? This is if they don't take steps to block non-citizens from voting.
I'd like to know listen, these are good people, particularly Hama Gillen. She's very smart. She's a very good lawyer. I'd like to see what the allegations are, what the theory is, because I haven't seen that yet. In other words,
I'll tell you what the theory is. If she puts out a memo that you better not check people's IDs, then she's guilty.
Okay,
that's my theory.
Well, it's not a bad theory. I just like to see what statute she's relying on.
Let's see what John Solomon has to say.
The letter makes clear that there are federal laws that prohibit people who aren't U.S. citizens from voting, and that if you don't comply with that law, there are penalties. There is actually a federal statute that says if you don't comply with the federal statutes for your election or the state statutes imposed by your legislature, because in the states, the state rules are set by the legislature.
This is going to the regulators you're talking about.
Right.
It's not the individuals signing up to vote improperly. This is going directly to the regulators.
That's right. The statute. So the first law is that a non-citizen can't vote. If you're a regulator and you don't abide by that, or you may allow that to happen, you can be charged with a felony. That's what the letter actually says. Yeah.
So if you give orders to your people, don't check.
Yeah.
Then I wonder if it goes down to the poll worker that says, I don't want to know if you're a citizen or not.
Yeah. Well, let me read you the exact letter, words in the letter. In conclusion, any election officer, so that could be a county, state person, including the chief election officer of the state, who knowingly retains non-citizens on the state's voter rolls or facilitates non-citizens in receiving and casting ballots, could be subject to criminal liability. So it says any election officer, anyone in a position to allow this to happen they can face criminal. So if I'm a county clerk, I'm worried too. This isn't just the state secretary of state.
That's really interesting,
No,
Judge.
What it means that they're smart. What they'll do is they'll cooperate in terms of taking a real hard look at the voting rolls and purging the people who are ineligible.
That's right.
To vote. So,
I think that's the leverage point, Judge. I think you got it right, which is they've been reluctant to use the database, but now that you realize you may personally be charged, maybe we'll look at the database after all.
Yeah,
it's
maybe
it's a good motivator.
It's a good motivator. Yeah. Suddenly they'll do the right thing.
I think the judge has it right.
Oh, don't say that. We got to live with him in the studio. His head's inflated.
Tough to walk out the door with my head that big. You know?
John, thank you very much.
Nice to be with you guys.
Thank you.
Keep your ears open, John.
I will. Thank you, guys.
Get ready, Staten Island.
The Ferry Hawks are back at SIUH Community Park July 7th to the 12th for a 6-game series against the High Point Rockers. Wednesday, July 8th with first pitch at 6:30. It's Woo Wednesday in collaboration with the Wu-Tang Clan. The Ferry Hawks transform into the Shaolin Hawks. Thursday, July 9th, first pitch is at 6:30. It's Thirsty Thursday with $5 Bud and Bud Light Traps.
Visit ferryhawks.com now to lock in your seats.